Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Summer School. Today, we are here with a very special guest who I've been trying to get on the podcast for what he told me was like at least 7 months. Don't ask me. We've been going back and forth, and honestly, mostly my fault. But I'm so excited that he's finally here, and also just love the accent, love all of his content. I'll let you introduce yourself, also because I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Don't hate me for that. But we've chatted briefly right before this call, and even that chat alone, I paused him like 8 times, and I was like, "Hey, wait, we need to click record." So, we're finally recording. It's gonna be so good, and I'm just really excited to dive into both his journey, a little bit on personal branding, and I just feel like this episode's gonna be packed with so much wisdom. So, Andrew, go ahead and tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name's Andrew Keher.
There we
It's a
go.
very unusual surname, 5 letters that has caused me chaos throughout my life. But I'm very glad to be here. Thank you for having me on. And obviously, the moment that the record button hits, my brain decides to leave the building, and all the lovely stuff that was building up inside me has now gone on a journey. But I am a wedding photographer from the UK. I've been shooting since 2013,
Oh,
which sounds really long ago when I say it like that. I've been photographing weddings now for over 10 years, 11 years, 12 years. Um, I've photographed about 400 weddings
mm,
across the UK and Europe, Spain and France and Italy and Iceland and Morocco and all lots of lovely places. And everything was going really well for me. And in 2024, I had a little bit of an issue, and my wedding bookings dried up, and I had to do something about it.
mm,
I had to make a little change of pace. I had to do something to bring my business back to life, my socials back to life, my website visitors back to life. So I thought I would try this newfangled contraption that had been invented 2 years previously, Instagram Reels, which I think came online in, it was either 2021 or 2022, and everyone in the world embraced them apart from me. I thought, I'm a photographer, I don't do videos. I do pictures, I make art, I make compositions, and I evoke feelings, and I am the mysterious creative who is never seen, but people around the world are hanging on my every post. Every time I post a photograph on Instagram, it's going to be the best photograph that anyone's ever seen. That was very much where my head was at in 2022, 2023. Now, unfortunately, the rest of the world wasn't quite as optimistic as me, and my bookings dried up. And at the end of 2023, I was looking at the following year, with about, I think I had 3 or 4 bookings in the bag, which is the lowest that I've ever had in my entire career up to that point.
mm,
So something had to change. And a lot of people were saying to me, Instagram is where we make our bookings now. Instagram is the new place. This is where our couples hang out. This is where engagement happens. This is where people don't go through the rigmarole of looking on your website and going through a contact form. They just message you on
mm.
Instagram and they want to talk about their wedding, and you've got to be on tap for them. So I thought, why not? Let's give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? What's the alternative? The alternative is I have to go and find a normal job from Monday to Friday. And having 2 young children, twins. I don't know if you know
Wow,
that I've got twins, identical twin girls,
wild.
Molly and Megan, and I had to try something. I had to try something. So I started to put together short form content, and I took my phone and I wandered off into the forest near my house,
Hmm.
and I started recording things, and I pointed at things, and I offered people advice who were getting married. If you're looking to book a wedding venue, here's 3 things you should remember, and I'd point at things, and do all that kind of stuff. I wasn't quite sure what I was doing. I didn't know how to fit text on the screen properly. Lots of it fell off the side. I didn't know how to line the music up properly. I often cut the top of my head off because I didn't know how Instagram was going to crop the video. But I muscled through, and I posted a reel. I posted a reel every day for January.
Hmm.
January 2024, I posted a reel every day. And at the end of January, I'd actually lost 10% of my followers at the time off
Wow.
Instagram. So a normal person might have given up at that point. They might have thought, I've wasted so many hours this month making videos and learning how to make videos and learning about reels and
Yeah.
trying to figure it all out. And what have I got to show for it at the end of 30 days? I've lost 600 followers.
Hmm.
But something inside me said, no, do you know what? I've actually enjoyed making these, and I've learned something about making them. And it's got me out the house. And you know what? I've got no weddings on. So I've really got nothing else to do at this moment. So I thought, what's the worst that can happen? Let's just keep going. And so I posted again every day in February and every day in March. And something happened where I started making reels that were more relatable to other photographers and
Hmm.
about our experiences being photographers in the wedding industry in the UK. And that seemed to resonate with people. I started to get a little bit of engagement. A few more followers would pop in. I'd get some comments, some direct messages. I hadn't had direct messages in years. And it all got very exciting. And I got a little
Hmm.
bit of a dopamine rush from it. So I thought I'm going to carry on. Anyway, so I continued to post. I continued to make funny reels and experiment with things. And it was, I think it was towards the end of March or maybe even early April. So I'm talking over 100 reels at this point.
Yeah.
And things started to gain traction. And I remember I think I posted, it was either I was knocking on the door and running away from myself or doing the learning how to use Flash or whatever it was. And it suddenly really took off and it
Hmm.
got lots of views and it brought in lots of followers. And I enjoyed that. And because I'd been making these every day for months and months and months, the very next day I went straight back out there and I made another reel.
Hmm.
And I did it again and I continued to do it. And at a certain point, I realized that I was really, really enjoying engaging with other photographers, and something really
Hmm.
changed inside me. I realize I'm talking a lot. Do you want me to slow down or shut
No,
up for a
keep
minute?
going. Keep
Um,
going.
because I missed a little bit out of this origin story, and I touched upon it briefly, but I thought that my photographs were strong enough by themselves to
Hmm.
get me work, because I had an enormous ego when it came to photography. An enormous ego. I thought I was the best wedding photographer in the world. I wasn't, but my ego led me to
Hmm.
believe that I was the best wedding photographer in the world. And it made me very cynical. It made me very grumpy. It made me very disillusioned with the way that I saw the wedding industry going,
Hmm.
which was to be this oversaturated market with lots of young people, even though I'm not that old, but I was 40 when I started doing
Hmm.
this journey. So I saw all these young people coming into the industry, not knowing what they were doing with regards to their work and their compositions and their processing, and yet getting such recognition and such admiration and such engagement. And I was really angry about it. I was really not in a happy place. And I thought that it was everyone else's fault apart from mine. I thought that clearly clients had lost their minds,
Mhm.
booking all these people instead of me, because why would you book these people who don't know what they're doing instead of the best wedding
Mhm.
photographer in the world? This is crazy. Um, and it took a little bit of soul searching to realize finally that it was my own fault. I
Mm.
didn't promote myself. I didn't have a voice. I didn't know where I stood. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was talking to. I didn't know. I did know in my heart how I was serving my couples, but I'd never written it down. I'd never thought about it. I'd never looked into the mirror and gone, who are you and what are you trying to do? And how can you do that? And how can you tell people about what you do? I used to post very artistic pictures with a line of poetry
Mm.
that I found online somewhere that seemed to vaguely fit the image. And I thought that's all I had to do,
Mm.
because cool photograph, line of poetry, that's amazing. I'm so cool. I'm a creative. I'm an artist. As I said earlier, I'm O Ginger, the UK version with slightly more facial hair. But I wasn't. I wasn't all these things that I thought I was in my head, combined with the fact that I wasn't telling anyone who I
Mm.
was. And it all mixed together in this awful cocktail of negativity, which
Mm.
led to directly to no bookings and no prospects for 2024. It's my own fault. And it took me a good 6 months to kind of acknowledge this. Because making these reels and engaging with other photographers, finally, it kind of brought me back into the community that I never wanted to be a part of for the last 10 years.
And now you're on a podcast.
And now, honestly, this is very, very still surreal to me, but I never went to networking events. In the UK, we have, in the northwest of the UK where I am, some very cool photographers. They lay on a day out for all the wedding photographers
Mm.
in the northwest of England. They all go and get drunk in the sun in
Yeah.
Manchester, and it's a great day out. And I avoid stuff like that. I don't want to be around other
Mm.
photographers. People's success made me feel sick because my
Mm.
business wasn't doing too well. So I would stay away from it. I didn't want to network. Um, I didn't even I didn't push for. I didn't want to network with venues or other vendors, or
Mm.
I didn't want to be on recommended suppliers lists unless they literally put me on that list without me doing anything for it. I
Mm.
didn't want to put any work in whatsoever to put myself out there. I certainly didn't want to go to wedding fairs or open days or anything that I saw as lesser than where I viewed myself in the world
Mm.
as a creative genius. Anything that where I had to put in effort was not for me. So yeah, it's a horrible, depressing place that I was. And now that I feel like I've come out of that and I can enjoy the community now, and something that I forced myself to do was I was talking earlier about young photographers coming into the industry and how they would annoy me because I thought that they didn't know what they were doing, when they very clearly do know what you're doing. You know what you're doing, Summer. But you
He's
were
like,
one
look
of
at
the
me. He's like, at
you
summer.
you were one of those photographers in that bracket who just exploded onto the scene, did amazing, annoyed me, and I held a lot of resentment to this side of the community. So what I did was, as an exercise, as I went through this journey of creating and engaging and becoming part of the community, whenever I saw something that triggered me slightly or
Mm.
made me have those bad feelings that I had pre 2024, I would leave a nice comment on that person's post.
So
Um,
secretly, if you were leaving nice comments, he actually didn't
yes,
like
I've
you.
I've mentioned this a couple of times to people, and they've gone back through the post to see if
Oh
they had
no.
if they had a comment from 2024. But at first, I forced myself to make nice comments because I really didn't want to go back to the misery
Mm.
and the negativity that I was in. So I made nice comments, and the more that I made nice comments on people's stuff, the easier it got to make nice comments.
Mm.
I kind of went from this, I have to say something nice, to actually looking at the photograph and appreciating it,
Mm.
and leaving a nice comment, or just appreciating the photograph. And it sent me into this weird place where I think I've actually turned nice. I think I am actually nice now. I think I love so many things that I see, and it when I know that I'm in this nice place is when I see. Do you ever go
Mm.
on to Threads?
Sometimes, but Threads is a gross place. If you're trying to be nice, I don't know if you should be on
Well,
Threads.
how I realized that my moral compass was in a completely new direction was if you go on Threads and you see the comments made there by the people who I used to be, the
Yeah.
miserable middle-aged blokes most of the time, but the miserable people, and they're complaining about
Everything.
crooked photographs, they're complaining about blur, they're complaining about grain, they're complaining about everything. And that's what I used to do in my heart. I never complained to anybody. I used to bottle everything up. And then I realized that if you just embrace all these amazing photographers and the different way that they do things, and appreciate what they're trying to do and what they're trying to convey, and see the artistry in what you're
Mm.
creating. And I feel now that I have no hatred of any style of wedding photography that I come
Mm.
across. It either floats my boat or it doesn't. But I don't feel the need now to say, "My God, what's this person trying to do? What are they trying to do? I'm going to go off and have a rant about it on Threads and get some engagement on Threads." It's just I feel like I'm in a different place, and I'm so happy that this happened. It's opened so many doors to me now. Look here, I'm on a podcast with Summer, the kind of person who used to make me miserable because you seemed to have it all together, and you were experimenting with stuff, and you were just photographing seemingly for the joy of taking pictures and seeing what you could come up with, and you were posting every day and being fearless with what you created. And it made me feel very well. It made me remember my ego, and it made me feel very small for having these opinions. And I just wish that 30-year-old me from 10 years ago would have gone through this at the
Mm.
time. And I mean, I don't regret anything, and I'm very happy of how things are going for me at the moment. But I just wish I'd started it earlier and not had to go through those years of being miserable about everything.
Mm.
Um, but this was not meant to be a discussion of my darkness and finding the light, or maybe it was.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
there's so many good points in there, like, when you said you expected people to just come and find you because you post amazing photos, you know? One of the common things I actually tell people is, whether it's in mentoring or coaching or who knows where, maybe it's just a conversation I have, is you could give a client, and this is like a harsh reality because we want to hope that our clients love our work, and most of them do, of course, but you could give a client 2 sets of photographers' images, and if you took the photographer away from it, they might not even know what's better or worse. But
yeah,
what they do know is, like, the difference in you and in who you are, and that can genuinely attract them to booking you, which is why it's a
absolutely.
beautiful, but in your scenario, also a horrible thing if you're not in a good place with who you are and putting that out there. And as an entrepreneur, you have to be almost, like, mentally available enough to put yourself out there in a place to have that sort of personal brand. And there are some ways where maybe you could brand that's not your name and have this big company, but that's also not, like, the artist side that you were
Exactly.
pursuing, you know? So, if you wanna be the artist, you also simultaneously do need to kind of be confident in having a personal brand because, I mean, that one of my wake-up calls was a client sending me, like, a mood board, and I was like, "Hold up, this is literally not how I take photos. Is this gonna be a bad, like wedding, you know what I mean? It was just like
Yeah.
polar opposite style. They sent me some sort of photos they liked, and I think they were like kind of bright and airy, and I was pretty moody back then. And I
Yeah.
was like, what do I do? And I realized, no, they don't see the difference in these images like I do,
Yeah.
but they're confident that I'm going to deliver something they enjoy. And it just is
Absolutely.
like, you know, in some ways in our artist mind, kind of sad because you would hope people really value also the quality of the images you're taking. But at the end of the day, unless a photographer, which I do get a lot of that, but unless a photographer or someone in the industry books you, the average client wouldn't be able to choose between me and another person and say which one is which.
I I cannot agree with you more. The Where we are now in the wedding industry is we have available to us the most fantastic cameras, the most amazing lenses. We have, like it or not, we have access to AI editing. We have people's presets. We have all these tools to make our work look fantastic. So how do we stand out as artists in this
Mhm.
marketplace? And I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said 100,000 times in artistic business circles, because we're in
Mm.
a funny business. Being artists and business people is a funny thing to reconcile sometimes. But we are in we're in this weird place where the pictures that are produced hand on heart are very similar in quality.
Mm.
People are getting sharp images, they're high quality, the white balance is correct, there's a mood to it, everything is covered. So how do we differentiate ourselves? And for 10 years I did not differentiate myself. I
Mm.
honestly thought that my pictures were head and shoulders above everyone else's.
Mm.
And the market showed me that that was not the case. The market said to me, I understand that you're an artist, Andrew, but here's the real world. If you want to be a hobbyist, then you can absolutely just post your photographs and enjoy your craft
Mhm.
and push the boundaries of what you want to do. But if you want to earn money and maintain this beautiful passion of yours of taking pictures and making people happy, then you have to get out there and tell people what you do and why you do it and who you are and what's your story. Because with the perfect cameras and the presets and the AI editing, and now with AI itself, which generates perfect captions for everyone at the drop of a hat. Oh, I can use my favorite phrase that I invented today. We are in a homogenized zeitgeist. Zeitgeist? I've never said that word in real life. We're in this homogenized world where we are all in terrible danger of looking and sounding the same.
Mm.
And I think possibly that is why I've had quite a lot of people start following me over the last 18 months. People who are engaged with me and they ask me questions and they message me and they come along to workshops and they follow along and they enjoy the stuff that I put out there, because in this realm of everyone looking very similar, when
Mm.
someone actually stands up and says, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is why I'm different, this is what I believe, the photographs you assume are going to be nice. The photographs are great. The photographs are lovely and they're soulful and they're well composed and they're well lit and fantastic. But we want to know about the person now. In 2025, everything is perfect. The captions, the pictures, it's polished to perfection. We want to know who is the person, who is Summer,
Mm.
why is she doing this? Why has she chosen to follow this path? Why has she decided to start this podcast? Why does she want to speak to these people? Why? What is it about Andrew Keher that she wanted to find out about? What? Why? What's the story? This is the stuff now that people are finally waking up to.
Mm.
Um, that there is so much more to what we do than taking pictures. We have to get on board with it. That's what I'm banging my drum about at the moment, is to tell wedding photographers that they have to show people who they are. And another problem, not that you've asked, but another problem that we're faced with, unfortunately, is people like me and people like you and people like Josh in Australia and Mike in Australia and other big names. The problem that people are faced with is they look online and they see these big accounts and they see what they're doing and they say, right, the only way I can grow on Instagram is to emulate what they're doing. I'm
Mm.
going to try and do the same thing as them. But there's this there's this weird place called the forest of noise. And the forest of noise is this forest of AI generated captions and presets and perfection and slop and Vogue magazines that tell everyone how to think. And this forest is standing between these photographers in the, I hate to use this word, but it seems to fit, in their obscurity, and it stops them from reaching the other side of the forest, which is the realm of renown, of where they're
Mm.
known. And to get through this forest, they have to do things differently to the people on the other side of the forest who have already made their way through that forest. I
Mm.
feel like I've come out on the other side of that forest now, in some ways, in that I do not have to approach my social media in how I think um, a photographer on an earlier part of their journey should approach their social media. I can get away with a lot more now
Mm.
because I've put in the work over nearly 2 years to engage with my audience, to tell people who I am, to tell them what I stand for and what I'm good at, so that people know in their mind when my posts come up, they already kind of get a vague feeling that they might see something funny or they might read something interesting. But it's taken a while for me to get there.
Mm.
To get through this forest of noise, it's taken effort and it's taken experimentation and failure and testing and consistency and just so much trying to get there. And you have made your way to the other side of that forest, and other creators have made their way to the other side of that forest. But the problem is, when you're not through that forest, you look at these creators and you see what they're doing, and you think, oh, that's what I need to do to grow. But it's not. To get
Mm.
through that forest comes the failure and the consistency and the showing up every day and the trying new things and the finding your voice and discovering who you are on this journey, and what is it that you do that helps people in your unique way, because we've all had our failures in life, and we're all here because of a series of coincidence and luck and bad luck in some cases. We all have our unique makeup of who we are as photographers. Like, long gone are the days when you can just say, here's some photographs I took on Saturday. I hope everyone likes them. If you're looking for a photographer in California, please get in touch with me. That's gone. People need to stop that now. You need to show people who you are, to get through that forest, to get to that other side where people know your name more and they trust you and they want to hear what you've got to say.
Mm.
And things get a little bit easier on the other side. You can do slightly less work because you've put in all that work originally. And I think that there's no one explaining to new photographers or photographers who are trying to grow that they don't have to do the stuff that the big accounts does. They focus on the small things. Focus day one, who am I? And say something about who you are. And then the next day, say something about who you want to work with.
Mhm.
And then the day after that, tell them a little bit about your story. And then the day after that, tell them again, how did you get to this place in your life? Why have you decided to do this? And it's not dramatic, it's not earth-shattering, it's not going to get you viral, it's not going to get a million views on TikTok. It's just little pieces of who you are put out there into the world, and it's your personal brand, it's your reputation digitized. online, and you build it up layer by layer by layer over a long time, and it sucks. I wish it was as easy as posting photographs. And the depressing thing is that, and the reason that I this is all just a theory, by the way. I could be completely wrong. But one of the reasons that I believe this is because I tried to do it. And I did. And you can look back on don't scroll down my posts and look at my photographs from
I'm doing it
6
right
years ago.
after
Please,
this.
no, please don't. But I used to post, as I said earlier, a photograph with a line of poetry. And the reason that I did that, I'll name check him because I think he's amazing if he listens. But there's a Canadian photographer called Gabe McClintock who
Yeah,
I absolutely adore. I think his work's phenomenal. It's right up my alley. It's
yeah.
dramatic. He's on the side of volcanoes. He has the most amazing connection between his couples. The wind's always blowing their hair around. Sometimes you don't see their faces. He was one of the first photographers that grabbed me by the scruff of the neck, not literally, but with his images and made me look at them. And he used to post pictures with lines of poetry.
Hmm.
And we're taught he was a huge name. He still is a huge name with a lot of followers. He can do that because he's on the other side of the forest. I did not see the 10 years of career that got him to that point. I just saw him posting amazing pictures with a bit of poetry and getting his
Hmm.
flowers. And I thought, well, I want a piece of that because my photos are good as well. I want to do that. And you know what? It didn't work. It didn't work. And uh, instead of doing that, as I say, I should have been telling people, who am I? Who's Andrew Keher? Why am I shooting in this way?
Yeah.
Why don't I like posing people at weddings? The big thing at the moment is editorial style photographs of beautifully posed, beautiful people at Lake Como, draped over a vintage car or in a speedboat, and it's all very vogue and it's all amazing with the details and the kind of supply vendor team that you know do the biggest weddings in the world, and that's what the vibe is, and that has never been my vibe. And instead of getting bitter about the way that this stuff was being pushed by Vogue and by Harper's Bazaar, instead of getting bitter about that and thinking that I have to adapt and learn how to do this stuff and I hate it and this, that, and the other, I should have used that as an opportunity to reinforce why I
Mhm.
do things in my way, why I don't like to pose my couples on the day, why I choose to try and create my. But then everything's a learning opportunity. So it's not just that I don't like to pose my couples on the day. I want to try and create art that they can print out for the wall
Mhm.
without them knowing that I was doing anything in that moment. That for me was a goal of that was a secret goal of mine for
Mm.
such a long time. Imagine how many months worth of content I could have come up with by just talking about a photograph that I took that the bride and groom or the bride and bride or the groom and groom didn't know about, and it's a piece of art.
Mm.
It's a composition. It's light. It's a moment. There's months and months of content I could have spoken about. Instead, I chose to get angry at the industry. I never left mean comments, but I'd agree with
Yeah.
mean comments that I saw saying, "Oh, editorial is so stupid. Oh, crooked horizons. Oh, Lake Como. Oh, how cliched." Instead of getting bitter about it, I should have used that as an opportunity to explain what I love and what I
Yeah.
want to do. And do you know what? There's more, obviously, there's more in America, but there's 35 million people who use Instagram in the UK. And I think the statistic is 30% of those are in the average marrying age.
Mm.
There are millions and millions and millions of people getting married or thinking about getting married or in love who want to be married at some point. And I'm looking for 25 of those couples every
Yeah.
year. I think I can find 25 couples who, if I spoke to them clearly enough and I told them what I wanted to do and I explained how I want them to be present in every moment. And I want to document their day without interrupting the flow,
Mm.
without a portrait session, without anything that takes them away. Yes, that's out there. That's different. That's not the current vibe of things. But I think I could have found those 25 couples that would have kept me fully in business in 2024 if I'd been talking to people properly. And if
Mm.
I'd used these platforms that are available to us, Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, if I'd used them in a more intelligent way and spoken to these people, I would have found those couples. As it happens, I've gone in a slightly different direction now because I've really fallen in love with our wedding photography community,
Mm.
and I love the people in there, and I want to talk to them, and I want to help them out of this black hole that I was in a couple of years ago, and I think I can. I think I can. I think I'm good at it.
Yeah.
I still think I'm good at taking pictures as well, which is why I'm still doing weddings, and I love my weddings, and I feel that now I know who I am, and now I know who I want to talk to. I feel like there's so much more opportunity for me to do this kind of work and to maybe teach other people who might be interested in documentary photography on how they can do it. And you know, we are artists, but we are running businesses as well. So
Yeah.
yes, I if I can sell my education to other people and really try and do my best for them and to deliver something that uplifts them and gets them to say, "Oh, do you know what? I learned something today. I think that's a great point that he's made there. I'm going to rethink the way that I approach my social media." Then I'm going to try that. I didn't know what I was doing when I started photographing weddings. There's no, as we mentioned at the start, there is no council of wedding photographers who dictates what we're all supposed to do. There is no one who passes laws on how you start in the wedding industry or what you're supposed to charge or how you're supposed to deal with your clients. I mean, if you went on
Mhm.
Threads, you'd
Yeah.
think that there was a council of photographers that
So
got to
true.
tell us what to do. But, you know, unlucky to them. We are all individuals, we're all self employed, unless you're in one of those agencies with like 20 photographers working for you. But that's a whole different industry.
Mhm.
That's never really attracted me. I know that's where the real money is, having 20 associates and send them out to 20 different weddings, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
So, what the hell was I talking about then, Summer? I've gone off on a tangent.
We have talked about so many things so many times. I'm like, "Oh, I should bring that back up again. I should bring that back up again." Man,
I'm
it's
so
been
sorry.
so good. No, don't even worry about it. I feel like that's what this podcast is for. If people wanna rant for an hour and a half, I'm here for an hour and a half. Like, whatever you wanna talk about. One thing I did find interesting that maybe we'll go ahead and circle back to before I forget, because I will forget. We don't have this elaborate script or notes that I'm writing, like, I just talk with
No,
people I enjoy talking to. But one thing you brought up was the, like, forest that people have to go through. I do not remember the name that you gave it.
the
The
forest of
forest of
noise.
the
I
forest of noise.
Yes,
I do feel like what's interesting, and maybe you'll feel this soon, or maybe you have felt it because you're like, "Summer, you've made it past the forest noise you're in." What was the next area?
Well,
You had a name.
I'm. Yeah. The forest of noise is this weird concept that I haven't found on Google, which is
No,
what
I
I'm
like the
always trying.
concept.
I'm trying to think of stuff that hasn't been said before because ChatGPT has ruined
Yeah.
everything for everyone. So this forest of noise, from on one side of the forest, we have obscurity, and
Hmm.
I know that I might find a different word for that because there's also there's almost this pejorative is that's the word I'm thinking of, feeling to the word obscurity. It's almost like you're
Mm.
not important, but it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that. Obscurity simply means that you can be the most talented photographer in the world. You can be amazing. You can control you're the best poser. You know how to compose the best, artwork. You can everything that you do is amazing. But you are on that side of the forest in
Mm.
obscurity where the forest of noise is masking who you are.
Mm.
Your clients are distracted. Other wedding photographers are distracted. Everyone's distracted, and you are not viewed. You're not trusted. You're not being engaged with.
Mm.
You're on that side of things, and obviously it'll be a spectrum. I'll probably turn it into a spectrum at some point,
Well,
but
yeah,
for
when I
now,
was what I why I came back to it was because I was like, I actually think, or maybe feel would be the right word, that I think there's probably always a chance of falling back into that forest, even
oh,
for myself. I would say I
absolutely,
started
yes,
reels so long ago that, like, when you hated people like me, I was, when they started posting them, and now there's already a new generation, which is crazy. There's a generation younger than me that's already doing things that I'm having to look at and be like, whoa, what are you doing? You're seeing success in ways I'm not seeing it right now.
yeah,
And I need to watch these people, which is crazy that like there's already a new wave, I'm like, oh,
yeah,
I feel so young, but there's genuinely already another generation below me killing it in a totally different way.
yeah,
And so I actually feel like in some ways, like it's not maybe a bad thing that you fall back into the forest, but maybe a good thing that you are learning from this generation that's like the next generation coming up, and you're reflecting and you're challenging yourself of how do I grow again, and how kind of like a roller coaster, it's gonna
yes.
go up and down, but I think genuinely unless you go down you're not going to go back up again.
Maybe that's why. Maybe the forest is not the best analogy, but it's the best I could come up with
Oh, I thought it was
when I was
beautiful when you
thinking
said it,
about
but I
it.
was like, maybe I fell back into the forest, and I think
Well,
that would be a good thing for people to hear too, because I think there's so many people, even the people like you looked up to, that now are in a place where they're like, wait, I took off and now I'm in a place where, holy smokes, how do I keep getting inquiries? Me
oh,
and Josh talked about this. Sometimes the bigger you get, the less business you get. It's not, people think it's like, oh, I need to get big and I need to grow. And sometimes that's actually not the answer at all. And you need
yeah,
to have your like goals in line, because I know plenty of people with huge followings that have no inquiries. And
yeah,
it's just this interesting thing that when you put all of your energy into this one avenue, you have to constantly be evolving and constantly be growing. And even when you get to a place like whatever the next section was called that I'm not remembering, but past the forest
renown,
of doom,
renown.
um, when
The
you
the
make it
next
past the
the
forest,
the
the
next section
renowned,
is renown. I
yes,
I chose these kind of fantasy themed
yes,
words because I, my whole the webinar and the direct it's so sad, but the direction that I want to go with
yeah,
my educational stuff and my mentoring stuff, it was all crazy. It was in different directions. It
mm-hmm,
was very wishy-washy. I had lots of different ideas and different thoughts, and I didn't know what to do. But the moment that I kind of form this together into this into this idea that the place that I want to create, it's a bit cheesy, but the place that I want to create is called the Brand Inn, the
mm,
Brandon, Andrew Keher's Brandon. And it's a place that doesn't exist, but it sits at the edge of the forest of noise. See, so I told you I'm
mm.
a weirdo.
No, I
And
literally love it.
so this place that doesn't exist is a tavern, and there's a fire, and there's a chimney, and there's smoke, and there's the music is playing, the medieval music, and there's people drinking, and the horses are tied up outside. And on your journey from obscurity to renown, you have to stop at the tavern before you enter the forest. And that's where I'm going to be. I'm going to sit at the table. That's why I want my green screen
Mm,
for my webinar on Wednesday. I'm going to be in the tavern, and I'm inviting photographers to come and sit with me by the fire. And I am going to try to offer advice and guide
mm,
them so that they can at least start to make their way through the forest to the other side. And once I started thinking about it like this, it
yeah,
drew all these weird and wonderful ideas that I had. It drew them together into one place, and it has allowed me to focus on it properly and to keep
mm.
this theme in mind. I know it's
No,
a
I
bit
love it.
nerdy, but if I can keep this idea in mind that it's a tavern, and it's not me that's going on this quest. It's not me. It's these photographers, it's these creatives who are coming into the tavern. They are going on their quest. They have to get through the forest. It's my job to guide them and to offer guidance
Yeah.
and to give them some words of wisdom to get them through that forest. I am not the hero of this story. I don't want to position myself as the hero. This is your story. This is the people who are coming into the
Mm.
brand in, who are trying to get through this forest and to find this treasure at the other end, which is bookings and longevity in business.
Yeah.
I'm going to help guide them through this forest. So that's the analogy that I've come up with in my mind, and it keeps things in order. I have a very chaotic way of thinking about things, but this keeps me grounded.
No,
This
I
is what I'm
guess more
trying to
so
do.
for people like the people who you would maybe would classify in the you said the renown?
Yes.
I
So
say maybe those people need to be careful not to get lost back in the forest.
exactly.
There we
Now,
go.
but what you said, Summer, was very good when you said that you're looking at new people coming into the industry and saying, wow, I need to keep on my toes. I need
Yeah.
to learn from them. How fantastic is that attitude compared to the attitude that I had, which is
Mm.
new people are coming into the industry. I hate them. Why are they
Yeah.
taking all my work? This is wrong. But look, so you've made it through the forest. You've done that work, and you're seeing new people, and instead of being scared by them or made angry by them, you're thinking, what can I learn from them? What are
Mm.
they doing that I
Yeah.
might be able to incorporate into my way of business? And that's fantastic. That's the way that we should be. We should be constantly trying to learn. And this whole personal branding thing, I feel like if we just get the fundament, if photographers can just get the fundamentals right, they can traverse this forest, and it's very simple. It's who am
Mm.
I? Who am I speaking to? Why do I want to help you? And how can I help you?
Mm.
In various orders and with various slight variations. But if you can just hold those four pillars or five pillars, you could probably work another one in there somewhere to make it more complicated. But if you can hold these things in your heart, then no matter what happens in business, no matter how rocky things get or how misty the road gets and you can't quite see where you're going, if you can just take a breath and say, who am I? Who am I speaking to? How can I help them? And why do I want to
Mm.
help them? With these four things, you can conjure up infinite amounts of content. You can guide your whole business. You can create this place that people want to be a part of. Your clients want to come and be a part of it,
Mm.
because I did nothing of that. My whole business was to show off a portfolio. That's what my business was. Here's my
Yeah.
portfolio. Please book me. It doesn't work in 2025. It might have worked in 2017, but in 2025, 2025, when everyone has a portfolio and everyone's camera is amazing and all our pictures are in focus, you need to start getting simpler with what you do and
Yeah.
keep it simple. Who are you? Who are you trying to help? How can you help them? And why can you? Why do you want to help them? And often people miss that last one, which is a super important bit. Why do you want to help those people? And if you can answer it, as long as you don't just say, "Well, I need the money." If you can dive into that, why do you want to help these people? Oh man, that takes you on such a journey of like of your thoughts about this whole industry and why did you get into it?
Yeah.
Because all the stuff that I used to never tell people, like I used to have a really miserable job in construction, and I sat in an office with no windows,
Mm.
and it was very miserable. Everyone used to shout at each other. I used to get shouted at all day. We were going through the financial crisis, or the aftermath of the financial crisis, which was 2000 and, oh, I sound really old, like 2009 or something like that. And one day, someone yelled at me over the phone, and I put the phone down and I thought, I've been doing this job for 8 years and I do not want to do this anymore. I
Mm.
need to be around happy people and I need to feel good about myself. So I'd never picked up a camera before in my life at this point. And I went to a wedding that weekend, my cousin's wedding, and I saw the wedding photographer and I thought he was cool. And I was a little bit drunk. And I went over to him and I asked him, how do you become a wedding photographer?
Yeah.
And he, fair play to him, he gave me a few minutes of his time, but he put me onto his course, which was a introduction to wedding
What are
photography.
the odds he had a course back then?
I know. Well,
That's crazy.
it's a photographer called Johnny Draper. If he's listening, I love you, Johnny. You're a great guy. He was the king of social media back in 2011,
That's
2012 in the UK.
crazy.
Everyone went on his course. So he put me onto his course. I went and did an engagement shoot in Manchester, a pretend engagement shoot, because no one cared if you went on pretend shoots in 2013. It's not a
I
big
still don't think
deal
it's
like
that
it
big
is
of a
now.
deal.
It's really not. But people like to complain about things,
I love
don't
a
they?
good style shoot.
Yeah, I went on my first styled shoot workshop thing to Morocco last year with the lovely Angela Van Geffen, if she's
Mm,
listening. Hi, Angela. Um, and I had an absolute ball. In fact, that's where I unlocked this thing inside my head that
yeah.
where I really enjoyed helping the photographers who were earlier on their journey than I was. So Angela asked me to come out there just to kind of be an assistant, a glamorous assistant, and I did. And I was helping some of the other photographers who'd only just started doing weddings, and I loved every second of it. I
Mm,
had so much fun explaining camera settings and uh, what you can do in harsh light and using
yeah.
bits of glass and how I would approach this at a wedding. Oh, I was in my element. I just
Yeah.
talked solidly for 3 days, and I came home from that thinking, well, before that, I in my miserable stage of life, I wasn't very happy about styled shoots in general. Oh, I
Mm,
know I wasn't happy about them because I'd been tarnished by the internet at this point not to like these things because
mm.
young, cool wedding photographers were doing things like styled shoots, and no one did any styled shoots where I lived, and I wasn't going to pay lots of money to go to Italy to do one, so I'm just going to be mad about it instead of doing anything about it. Nothing was stopping me from running my own, but
I
I
think
thought I'd
my
be mad.
opinion, which is funny because I love everyone that's been fighting, but my opinion, which I haven't shared, is that I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I started my career on lots and lots of style shoots. I went to a million of them because I knew how to work. Maybe it'd be a big deal if the person has no idea how to work their camera, okay?
Yeah,
But that at the end of the day would then be the client's fault for hiring them. I don't think it's the photographer's fault for false advertising. I just think like do your research when you hire a wedding photographer.
yeah,
I charged thousands for my first weddings. I didn't do it for free. I didn't do it for $500. I literally charged a good bit of money, but I had experience with a camera and I knew what I was doing with a camera. And so for me, it wasn't that I needed to go learn how to work my camera on a wedding day. It was like, no, I need to know what a wedding day is and I need to know how to work my camera.
yeah,
So if it had been holding someone's bags and then I went and shot my own first wedding, to me, that is plenty good enough. And if my portfolio was couple shoots that I set up myself, it's still a shoot. Like it's still a photo that I took. I understand that maybe styled shoots are different these days and sometimes they have like fake wedding guests and all these sorts of things. But I ran a workshop years ago
yeah,
that was a styled shoot. It was 3 days of styled shoots, and they were um, fake elopements for people wanting to get elopement photography because that's what I did. And I saw all these styled shoots that were like 30 minutes long, maybe 2 hours long. And it was just the perfect photos. And so
yeah,
I wanted people to be able to have something they could actually put on a blog that looks like a real elopement so that when it comes to advertising, they can show their couple what could be with their elopement day.
yeah.
In today's times, I would probably get torn to pieces for that because I would
Oh,
be having
absolutely.
a fake elopement that's not real. And I'm like, no, it's just advertising. When it comes into the editorial space or into e-com, everything, everyone is putting on what they want the people to see themselves in. Do you know what I mean?
Do McDonald's suffer from having juicy? plump
Beautiful.
fake burgers on their
And
billboards.
then you get the real thing, you're like,
I
"What
know
is this?" You still buy
Josh
it.
Josh is going to kill us both, by the way,
I
for
know. He'll be
for
talking about
saying
us
this.
on his
But
next thing.
the way I see it now, I feel like a Buddha who's come into nirvana. But the way that I see it now
Yeah.
is I I genuinely and honestly do not care about how people choose to run their individual
Yeah.
businesses. Um, in fact, if they do something that works for them, I should try and learn from that and see why that works for them and what can I incorporate something of that into my business. I know there's the whole styled shoot thing is just weird, but we could almost do a 3 hour chat about
Oh,
styled
yeah.
shoots. But for me, if people go on styled shoots, whatever, because I'm confident in my ability. And the thing with documentary photography is
Mm,
I'm if I'm trying to attract a couple who value the stuff that I value and that I talk about and create an art from nothing and
mm,
catching every moment and letting people be present in the moment. I do not care if people set up perfect shots draped over a vintage car in Lake Como because that's not what I create. I
yeah,
create art from the moments that happen. And if those people can recreate some of the moments that I take at a styled shoot, then fair enough. Okay, they're welcome to it. They've put the effort in. But I'm happy that 99.9% of the stuff that I produce is not in direct competition with styled shoots or the people who want those kind of weddings. I
well,
don't
and for me,
care.
I'm just like, I enjoy being creative, and so, say it's a lot of some of my favorite work I probably haven't been paid for because why should we only make good work when we're paid for to do it? I don't know. I just, I love a good styled anything, whether it's me taking self-portraits. Like, I love taking photos, and so I love taking photos. It doesn't have to be at a paid wedding.
I completely understand because how often, as a documentary photographer, because I don't set much stuff up, but even as a documentary photographer, it's
Yeah.
99.9% unset up. I still do a bit, but I get absolutely thrilled when the perfect light happens and when
Mhm.
the perfect scene starts to unfold and I can create that stuff. I get incredibly excited by an amazing scene. So why if people want to go off and create amazing scenes for themselves and feel that excitement and to create something that looks amazing on their screen and to go, I made that,
Yeah.
I saw the light, I positioned myself, I composed it, I edited these pictures, I have created this thing, then I it's really none of my business if this was directed or if they were models or whatever.
Yeah. And I
That's
know we're
why
not technically even really talking about the thing was that they're not real weddings, which is fine. I think you and I would agree. Okay, yeah, it's not a real wedding if it's not a real wedding, like, is what it is. But on the
it,
topic of just like, do we enjoy them? You might not because you're documentary style. Honestly, I love a good style at anything, but that's like also with my taste and like
yeah.
I could see myself working as a creative director and I've worked on fashion sets where I'm like, this is so cool, pulling that into some of my engagement shoots and how those operate and pulling from direct inspo and it's just like, for me, it's creating the world. It's not existing in it. Whereas you would rather exist in it, which is cool that we are different. But when it comes
Hey,
down to styled shoots, I think we just need to stop thinking in this like echo chamber of a wedding industry and start
I,
letting ourselves be free to
I
create
was
however, you know?
I was absolutely loving some of the things that were set up in Morocco with
Mhm.
the fabulous models and the scenery and the set, the hotel and
Yeah.
the pool. It looked amazing, and I had a ball taking those photographs. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. That's why I came back from that thinking I'll say it out here for the world. I came back and thought about setting up my own styled shoot in the
You're
northwest of
like, "This was
England.
fun."
I we don't have the sunshine that
Yeah.
we have rain, but that could work as well. We go out into the rain and get some sexy stuff. I think people just they get to the. I don't
We're
want to
both
get
too
myself in
nice. This
trouble.
is why we don't have hot take podcasts like everyone else.
I don't think I'd have to apologize after every hot take, but I
Oh,
think that the problem is that wedding photographers, we work for ourselves. We're at home most of the day. We're chronically online. We're plugged in to opinions. We want to feel like we're part of something because, we do work by ourselves for most of the time, and we want to be part of something. So we take sides in things, and we like to argue online about whether styled shoots are this or that, or whether we should be doing this, or should people be charging money when they haven't shot a wedding before, or should they even shoot a wedding if they haven't shot a wedding before, and should they second shoot? Oh no, because someone else has got an opinion that you can't second
yeah.
shoot unless you're a full-time professional photographer, and that's a
Yeah.
whole different thing. That's called shadowing, and you're
Meanwhile,
only
I
allowed.
just did
And I'm
it. That's why
like,
you gotta get
what
it
the
out of your head. You gotta remove yourself from the noise and just do what you wanna do. Because at the end of
absolutely.
the day, we think that there's, like, all these wedding photographers and all these rules, and you have to have all these things. But at the end of the day, there really isn't, and most of
There
our
isn't.
clients will never know of any of these rules that you've put in your own mind.
And you must be in a few secret Facebook groups yourself, but a
I'm
big
not
thing
well,
was
maybe.
always I love the drama in Facebook groups. I'm in so many Facebook groups that I never comment in, but I just watch things. And when they say, when you're just starting out, you should never photograph a wedding because
Mm.
that's someone's special day, and if you make a mistake and you lose these critical moments or whatever, blah blah blah. Do you know how many mistakes I see from full-time professional photographers in these groups
Mm.
crying about something that's broken, a camera's exploded, the memory card's corrupt. How do I do this? This happened. I lost this shot. I didn't know how to deal with this. The content creator got in the way. I lost and I'm like, we all make mistakes. So let's just focus on our own small businesses and let other people make their way through the forest and see how they get on. Um,
100%.
yeah, I would never
Well,
be able to do a hot take podcast.
yeah, we would
I,
both be typing our apologies to everyone afterwards.
mm,
Um, well, this was good. I would love to get back on personal branding real quick before we wrap
yes.
ourselves up and ask you to end us on a better note because I feel like some people might agree or disagree to our style shoot thing. I think it was interesting. I've never shared my opinion because I've never wanted to, but here we are and we did it. And now I want to get us back into personal branding. So I would love to know what is something that you wish people were doing these days in 2025 in the personal branding sphere that you feel like maybe you just wish you saw more of, or maybe you don't feel like you're seeing anything of. Interpret that question however you want, but I'd love to know what you wish you would see done now. Now that you've seen yourself take off in that way, now that you've seen other people make their strides, what do you feel like you wish you would see for like the future?
Oh, well, there's a lot of content creators or bigger accounts or however you want to classify them, and they will make it a kind of badge of honor that they post, but they don't look at other people's posts. They create, they don't
Mm.
consume. I follow thousands of people. People just have to make me laugh, and I will generally follow them and see how things turn out. So I look at a lot of stuff. I spend so long looking at people's stuff. I read captions. I
Mm.
visit blogs. I am kind of embarrassed by how much time I spend looking at other people's posts.
Mm.
Um, and I just wish that wedding photographers, let me just be diplomatic. When you go on a wedding photographer's website, which I do, I go on all of your websites. I go on your website. I
Ugh.
read people's blogs. I read people's about pages. I feel that because I'm trying to position myself as some kind of personal branding coach,
Mhm.
maybe at some point in the future, it's something that I've got to do. I've got to consume as much of this stuff as I can. So I go on people's websites, and I generally, the first place I visit is the About Me page, and I read everything. And I read that people have 2 cats and they like
I think mine does too. I
syrup
have a dog.
syrup in their coffee, and you can find them reading Lord of the Rings in the forest at the weekend, and they love this kind of music, and they got their first camera from their grandmother when they were 13, and they remember doing all this kind of stuff, and it evokes all these feelings within them. And the reason that they got into photography was because they wanted to preserve these memories for people, because when they look at their family photographs from 1965 and they see people that are no longer with us, and they love that, and they feel that other people would enjoy that, and maybe um these about me pages are filled with personality and stories and purpose and people's why are they
Mm,
doing this. And then these same people go onto social media, and I generally read, I think I usually go down the first 12 posts on someone's page when I'm trying to get a feel for them. And not once in those 12 posts, in a month's worth of content, have they given me one little bit of their why, or who
mm,
they are, or why they got into this, or what they love, or what they're passionate about, or what they hate, what they dislike? It's like we hide this stuff away about who we are on our page, and we hope that our clients go there and read it
mm,
and absorb it. And then we go on Instagram. And I only really talk about Instagram because I don't do TikTok at the
mm,
moment. I can't split my energy. But we go on Instagram, and it's like this mental block happens where we feel that we have to portray what is expected of us as professional full-time wedding photographers. So it's, this was a fabulous wedding. I had a lovely time. If you're looking for a wedding photographer in Manchester, please get in touch.
mhm,
And there's not a shred of that personality that I just read about 2 minutes ago on their page. Not a shred. So I wish, if people could take one thing away, is maybe go on your Instagram page and have a look at your last month's worth of posts, and just ask yourself, and then look at your About Me page on your website, and just try and weigh it up and go, hang on, this is about
mm,
me. Why am I not showing any of this on my Instagram page, which is a much more accessible place where my clients are going to find me? Don't be afraid to say who you are, because in 2025, in this perfect world, in this forest of noise, clients aren't stupid anymore, and they can tell when something is AI generated. I know this is going to upset people, but I can tell when people are writing captions with AI. I
Okay,
wrote
one pause is I feel like most people say you can tell because of an M dash, and I've been using M dashes in my Instagram captions for literally 5 years,
it's ruined it for you. They've
and now
ruined
I
it
think
for
it
you.
just yeah, no, it really has. I really
The
love a good dash, especially on Instagram.
the dashes have. I used to use dashes incorrectly. I used to do a little dash with no space after my
Mm,
word, then space with. But anyway, everyone thinks it's ChatGPT. I've generated tons of stuff on ChatGPT, and I've stopped, and now I see it everywhere,
mm,
and not just the M dashes. It's the beat. It's the beat of AI that you can read. It's the, here's the thing, but here's the truth. Here, it's not this, it's that. It's not just a feeling, it's a snapshot in time. It's so
yeah,
AI that and clients are onto this as well, because they use ChatGPT. They generate their work emails in ChatGPT. Of
mhm,
course they do. Like, it's a tool to make your life easier. However, I want people to get that personality that is within them, and maybe don't post the thing, because sometimes posting stuff, it actually hurts your brand. If you just don't post that thing just now. I know it's amazing, I know the photograph's fabulous, I know you're really proud of it, but the caption, just let it brew for a little while. Think about it, go to sleep,
mm,
wake up the next day, and instead of just posting that you had a lovely time, I want you to tell me what it is about this picture that you took. Why do you love this picture? Or what method did you use to take this picture that might be of interest to a client landing on your page? Or why do you think this picture might be important to those clients in particular? And just elevate the work that you're posting out there with that little bit of personality about your who you are, or who you're talking to, or how you can help them, or why you want to help them.
Mm.
And just put that little sprinkle of personality in. So in 2025, that's what I want to see more of. And every time I scroll through Instagram, which is pretty much every 10 minutes, I'm just met with a wall of nice pictures with very little personality, very little to say. And I know everyone's busy, and I know everyone's rushing, but this is a business. And if you want to elevate your business to the point where you can get enough bookings, the difficult things is to spin a story. You're a photographer, you want to take pictures, but you're also a storyteller. And most
Mm.
photographers will say, I can't wait to tell the story of your day. Or uh, I love telling the stories of people's days. I see that on websites all the time. It's on my website. Your wedding will be a story worth telling is my tagline on my site.
Mm.
So we say this stuff that we are great storytellers, but then we get to the little words underneath, and no one ever tells me a story. Tell me a story. Tell me something that means something to you, to your client. Tell me about this thing that you've created. So that's what I want to see. And it's difficult. I know it's difficult, but all the people listening, you are creatives. You have creative juice flowing through your body. You have a creative soul. And if you think about it, if you sit down, if you let it rest for a little minute, you'll find the story, you'll find the angle that can elevate you. And it's difficult, but the
Mm.
magic and everything that we do is in the difficult parts. If it was all easy, then, everyone could do it, but everyone doesn't. This is a hard job. Create something and then elevate it with your story. Tell me something that
Mm.
makes it interesting. And I think you might not see the difference at first, but do it every time. Do it every time you post. Tell me a story, build it up, and eventually I will know who you are and what you stand for and what your vibe is. I hate using that word vibe, but it's a vibe. That's what I want to get. Anyway, that was meant to be a quick answer, not a 10-minute rant about storytelling.
No,
Um,
that's completely fine. Why don't you go ahead as we wrap up and tell everyone about now this is literally like 2 days from when this airs, but tell
oh
everyone
yeah,
about the fact that there's literally 3 seats left at
there,
your personal branding little workshop you have going on.
there is. I actually just got. There was 4 seats left, and I've just got a pop up to say now
Oh,
there's only 3 seats left. So it's
okay.
it's on it's on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday
Oh,
9th of
people have
July,
24 hours then. This airs on Tuesday.
9th of July, and it's 7 p.m. UK time, which means it's about, I don't know what time that is. When we started this podcast, it was
Noon?
8 p.m. So it's kind of late
Noonish?
late morning for wherever you are. Unfortunately, it's the middle of night. The middle of the night if you're in Australia, as a few people have told me. Um, but all it is, it's pretty much what we've just been talking about. So I feel like I hope people don't get upset if I cover the same ground. But it's a webinar. It's inviting people into this branding that I've talked
Mm.
about. We're on the edge of the forest of noise. It's 2 hours, even though the last time I did this, I chatted for 4.5 hours because, as you've probably seen, I've got verbal diarrhea and I have lots of thoughts in my head and I like to just go off on
You should
tangents.
have a podcast.
You are not the first person who has threatened me with that, but I don't know about that. So it's a 2 hour chat. I'm going to talk about the foundations or the fundamentals of a personal brand. So the
Mm.
stuff that we've touched upon, I just want to talk about that a little bit more. And again, I'm a terrible businessman. I'm a terrible salesperson. It's the stuff that you can find online from lots of different sources. But this is my little view on it and how I
Mhm.
see it working in the wedding photography world in particular, about what I think we need to be doing when faced with all this noise and all these opinions and all these hacks and all these, this is what, just everyone's got a different idea on what should happen. I think if we can get our fundamentals right, then we can explore different things, more advanced
Yeah.
techniques and whatever you want to do. But if we can get this who we are and who we're trying to talk to, then hopefully it can help some people get a grip of where they are at the moment, because there's a lot of people just, I feel like they're flailing around
Mm.
slightly, trying to get some purchase on where they want to go. Maybe they're not sure on who they are and where they want to go, and they don't know who they're trying to talk to, and they're just seeing so many amazing photographers in the wedding industry who
Yeah.
seem to be smashing it at all times. But as you said earlier, even the big names are struggling. In fact, I won't mention one, but someone who I followed for a long time, who I thought was a mysterious creative artist who must be, you know, up to his eyeballs in bookings, who I've looked
Yeah.
up to for years, suddenly has started appearing with some dodgy reels.
Hmm.
Because if everything was going swimmingly, then he wouldn't be trying to do reels. He wouldn't be complaining about certain things that he started complaining about. And it just made me think, you know what? I've spoken to quite a few people now, and as you know, as you said earlier, there are big names who find it difficult to maybe be as busy as the perception of them,
Mhm.
what people might perceive their position to be. And yeah, it just made me think that there's maybe we all just need to look at our fundamentals a little bit. So I'm going to go out there, I'm going to bang my drum, I'm going to talk about the fundamentals. And if people can leave that and think, yeah, I might try a few things there. I mean, some of the best workshops that I've ever been to, I've not learned anything as such, but I've just come away with a few little golden nuggets of
Mhm.
information that have made me rethink the way that I think about things.
Mhm.
Uh, 10 years ago, I did a workshop with a guy called Alan Law in Cornwall in England. And I knew how my camera worked. I knew what I wanted to do. And he did a workshop where we didn't even need our cameras. It was just him talking to us for 8 hours.
Well.
And I can't even remember really what he spoke about, but I remember leaving that workshop with such energy and
Yeah.
enthusiasm and inspiration that even now, when I see his name pop up with his workshop, I'm first into the comment section. Absolutely 100% recommend Alan Law. You won't regret it. Great day.
Yeah.
And I want to create something like that. I want to give a few golden nuggets, give my opinion on things, and hopefully send people on their way with a slightly different mindset where they can go off and do their thing with a bit more intent and a bit more joy. And
Mm.
yeah, anyway.
I love it. Well, I'll put all of that information in the show notes and description. So for any of you listening, if you want to click into that, if you're listening to it on Tuesday and you happen to be free on Wednesday, go ahead and click into that. If not, you can find all the information to find Andrew, follow along with him if you don't already, which you should be, and keep up with what he's doing in this educational space and with his really artistic mind combined with obviously being good enough at running a business.
Oh,
I always say there's like the artists and the business people, and the people that can do both well are the people who, honestly, in my opinion, will succeed the most. So
I
it's
we
really cool that you have that like artistic side of
I
you.
just realized, I think that's the first time that I've spoken for, oh my god, for 2 hours, and we didn't even really talk about reels, which is like the whole thing that I've been doing for 2 years. So I love that. I must have
Hey,
something else to talk about finally.
exactly. No, and that'll always change too, like what you want to talk about and speak on and who just everything. It's not me giving advice. This is not. But anyways, Andrew's the best. Go follow Andrew. I'm gonna try and get Andrew in the real summer school, which he doesn't even know about yet. So everyone stay tuned to go subscribe. Summer school, obviously, this is a podcast, but we have a membership community, kind of like a Patreon on steroids, easiest way to describe it. I would love to get Andrew on. So go join us over there. Beg me, we'll beg him, and hopefully we'll see him in there soon. But there's a lot of awesome guests coming in. This month we have a Q&A with me on Thursday. So if you want to go join, it's $40 a month. You can ask me anything you want to. So go join the community while it's small. You can probably get a ton of questions in. And then we have a panel this month with Stacey Brooks and Angela from Social Templates on all things social media. So that'll be a really fun live class, as well as I think as of now over 10 recorded classes that are in there for you to watch at your own pleasure whenever you want to. So go watch, join, and just engage with the community of awesome photographers from all over the world. And that's the end of that. So, Andrew, it was so good to have you on. If you enjoyed this podcast, share it with a friend, leave us a review, and I cannot wait to just know you better. It's just so fun. Thanks for coming
I need
on.
to get a picture. Hang on.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, let me say goodbye. Say goodbye to everyone. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone. You've all been marvelous. Thank you for keeping your voices down while I've been chatting away. And
oh my gosh.
maybe I'll come back and talk more about reels next time, because this is usually I get lots of questions about reels. So I've really enjoyed enjoyed not talking about reels and getting in a little bit more into like the bit beyond reels.
Maybe we can make you talk about reels in summer school.
Yeah. Reels is reels are an amazing vehicle to get your stuff across. So yeah, would love to do that.
That'd be so fun. Oh my gosh. Well, goodbye everyone.
Bye.